Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, it's Dr. Ayuza Given, a student doing medicine and surgery at Makerere University, but also a poultry farmer, a farm that I started by just small savings. So today we are going to talk about a very important issue, and that is going to be how can you build your poultry house at a very cheap price. The hardest challenge is always wanting to start the farm, but you cannot because you do not have the money. But come on, this video is for you. Don't forget to hit the subscription button and drop a comment. So, one, the biggest problem is you see very big poultry structures online, and you're like, I want to copy these ones. You want to have the automated feeders, you want to have 1,000 broiler chicks at once, you want to copy everything. But I think a really farmer notes that growth comes step by step. For example, I started small, yeah, but you can see the current structure is really at least bigger. So what are we going to do? In this video, I'm going to show you how you can start small. The biggest problem is if you start small and you still want to stay small, you must start small but still have the urge to grow your poultry farm. What do we call a good poultry house? A good poultry house is going to be a house with around 4 to 5 qualities. One, we are going to need a good raised land. Two, we are going to need to make sure that we have good ventilation. Three, we are going to need good aeration. Four, we are going to need good security. So, how do you build a very good house without spending a lot of money? If you look at this one, I would say if you want a very good poultry house, this is not my first poultry house. Let me share with you. What you're seeing was my first poultry house. You build it with cheap or what you can call the locally available materials. You don't have to build those concrete big poultry houses you're seeing on your phone when you're scrolling over social media in your free time. No, use the locally available materials. Talk about using poles. Yes, talk about using poles. Talk about using second-hand iron sheets. You don't have to buy iron sheets. Iron sheets look cheap, but really, a very big population of Uganda do not really stay in houses with iron sheets. So it doesn't mean that the iron sheets are really very cheap. So you can think about using second-hand iron sheets. I remember when I built my first poultry house, someone in the neighborhood was demolishing their house. And then they called me and they're like, someone here is demolishing their house. And that's how I bought the iron sheets I used on my first poultry house. Think about using papyrus mats. Let me show you. I use papyrus mats for my first poultry house for the sides. That's what we call starting small. I said the problem is try not to stay small. So, what are the other qualities of a poultry house you need to know? That is going to be aeration. In most of the videos you're going to see, in most of the people's poultry houses you're going to see, you're going to look at such. Here you're going to find there is concrete for the first a quarter of the house. It's a little bit tall, and then you're going to find wire mesh for the rest of the house. You're going to find other poultry houses that are built where the concrete here just covers a very small portion, and then they leave a very big space for aeration. All those types of poultry houses are actually very, very fine. The only difference is going to be when you build like this poultry house I'm having here. If you're having it covering a quarter and then you're leaving 3 quarters for the aeration, then we shall not need curtains because really the light and the rain may not enter that much. But then if your poultry house that you're building is just having a concrete for a small portion of the house and a very large part of it is left open, those are the poultry houses you're going to find having what you call the poultry curtains. Someone has tarpaulin. In fact, let's leave tarpaulin, not as start small. You just need to use sacks to cover here. For example, I'm thinking about putting curtains here. I'm just going to get sacks that have been used after buying the feeds. I cut them and I use them as my curtains. We don't have to spend money. Like we already said, put money where it is needed, and that is going to be in buying the feeds. Otherwise, you're going to build very big poultry houses, but then you will not have any money to look after the birds. So think about having this type of aeration. You just need a quarter of it covered, and then you leave the rest of the 2 quarters for aeration. So the question I expect now is, Dr. Given, How about isn't the rain entering? That brings us to another idea you need for your poultry house, and that is going to be the orientation. Let me see. This is Uganda. Uganda is a tropical country, so we are just having the wet and the dry season. Thank God, maybe if we were in London and then we are having the winter, the summer, and the autumn, the whole thing would be a little bit complicated. So what do I mean by orientation? If you look at this poultry house, it is oriented facing this side. What do? We always build it in the east-west. For example, here, that is the east, and that side is the west. Now that means that the sunshine, remember the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So I'm not going to experience direct sunshine into my poultry house. So I'm maintaining good ventilation at the same time without having direct sunlight. Then if you see in my background, this poultry house is open only this side. You're going to see poultry houses that are open both sides. Those are the ones you find are very huge in that you need aeration or ventilation from either side. But depending on the width of this one, it should be around 4 meters really, compared to the length. The length is very long, but then the width is around 5 meters. So the aeration on one side is really enough because this one it has a capacity of around 1,000 to 1,500 birds. So the other closed side is the side where the rain comes from. You must be knowing where does the rain come from. So most of the times in my location, the rain drops from that back side coming this side. So that's why you're going to see the behind part is made up of concrete, but then this other side is open. That means that we're not going to have direct rain, we're not going to have direct sunshine, yet we are having good ventilation. So that is something you need. You don't have to start small, but you don't have to start big, but you should not stay small. We are going to need very good security. As you can see, I'm using a padlock. A padlock, and then I keep the keys because you don't really want thieves on the farm. Then here we are having very strong mesh. In fact, I'm thinking about adding smaller mesh like that one. What's the role of the mesh? To keep out the predators, the snakes, the rats, and the dogs. Then let's talk about the floor. Let's talk about the floor. When we move to the east side of the poultry house, you're going to see the roofing. I told you to start with second-hand roofing. Personally, that's what I did, start small. Now, I want you to see, when you look at the floor, this is the side where I'm going to put the birds that are in the brooder. The floor is made up of concrete. But as I said, this was not my first poultry house. For the first poultry house, what did we have? The floor was just soil that we compacted, and that was it. We started functioning, but now that the money has come, remember, you must keep putting money back into the business. That's going to be the other challenge. You're a farmer, the business is giving you profits, but you don't want to put the money back into the business. So now that we got money, you can see the floor is now made up of concrete, and it is ready to receive the next batch of the poultry bird. So let's start small. If you've watched the video and you've learned something, hit the subscription button and drop a comment.